Hi everybody, welcome back to week 5 of your puppy class online training. Thanks for those who sent some videos. I do my best to comment on every piece that you send to me, and I don't always check them every day, but probably a couple of times a week I'll go in and check for videos and offer some feedback. Don't be shy if my feedback doesn't make sense or if it doesn't answer your question or fix the problem you're having. Please reach out to me, either send me a message or comment on my comment or whatever. As much communication as we can do, the better. Normally I would give you a whole lot of instruction one-on-one in class, so don't think that you're bothering me or hesitate at all if there's any questions or issues or something that I'm not covering that you maybe would ask a question in class about. Send me a message, post it to the group. Again, I welcome any questions because sometimes it might not be something I'm covering specifically in class, but you're having a problem with it. Someone else might be having the same problem with it. Again, in a group class situation, we'd often be having an open conversation, or you'd hear the advice I'd give to somebody else. So don't be shy. Share your information, questions, all of that. Information is power. So the more information everyone can get, the better. And I think we're all making the best of this and doing the best we can with it. So attention, I want to review the couple of attention exercises that we have covered in your class and talk to you about building criteria and so on. So there's 2 types of attention exercises. There's one that is name call, and it teaches your puppy to respond to their name by giving you eye contact. Not just looking in your general direction, not looking to your bait pouch or your treat pocket or your hand, but to your eyes. Engage, connect. It's important that they understand to do that in order to follow, more commands or leadership from you. So that's name call attention. And then there's also impulse control attention, which is what I covered last week. Involves being quiet, not actually calling the dog's name, but being patient and allowing the dog to learn through error, of staring at the treat, barking at the treat, trying to get it, and then finding that there's no reward involved. But when they decide to give you eye contact, not because you called their name, but because they gave up this dead-end strategy, they checked in with you, yes, you offer reward for that. So those are the 2 different exercises. Both have different reasons for use and skills that they teach the dog. I really like the impulse control one to teach just that, to teach patience in the dogs, to teach them to look to you for things that they want. If there's something in their environment that they want, they check in with you before they just go and grab it, or before they bark at it or demand it in some way. They ask for it by giving you some attention. So not sure if I mentioned this, but my dogs basically, I've always lived with busy working dogs that like to, again, a busy working dog behind me here, that like to be active, play games, be interactive with their handler, which is me. But in the house, this is what I expect my dogs to be doing mostly. Riggs usually will entertain himself with toys, but he never bothers me to play with him in the house. Never. Not even really outside. I'm the leader of the pack. I engage. I'm the one that starts all the games. So if he wants outside, if he wants maybe to play or to get a treat or food or something, really all he does is he looks at me. So if he wanted to go out, he would go and sit by this door. He'd look at me, look at the door, look at me. I have to figure it out. He's not allowed on the furniture, but my other dogs always have been. Josie's the last of those dogs. So if she wants to get up on the couch, she'll look at me, look at her spot on the couch, look at me, look at the spot on the couch, and then the rest is up to me to decide whether I let her up or whether I ask her to go lie down somewhere else. She could be dirty, wet, extra hairy. My couch could be extra clean for some reason. So yeah, my dogs have all learned to give me eye contact and some quiet attention in order to perhaps get what they want out of their environment or what their needs might be at that time. So that's what the impulse control attention helps to teach dogs. In the long term in training, once there's a bit more foundation there and you're working on harder stays, so at my advanced level class I teach, I will sometimes encourage people to do that on stays just to increase focus and attention. But we're not there yet, but I just want to kind of tell you where you're going with those and their uses. Name call, obviously, you call your dog's name. It's nice that they look to your eyes. So, criteria. 2 weeks ago, I would have talked about raising criteria for name call attention. Very, very important. Try not to skip steps. I did that. I'll tell you a little story about this fellow back here. I didn't follow my own advice. It's not a good idea. So follow my advice. I encourage you to train to your dogs, or make it clear to your dogs, based on how you offered your food treats, that you like it best when they look quickly. What that means is that you're only going to acknowledge slow or distracted responses. So slower responses to their name takes them maybe 5-10 seconds. They looked around a bit, they sniffed the ground before they looked in your eyes. Only acknowledge those ones with praise. Still acknowledge them, but they do not earn food treats anymore. Only the first few weeks you tried this, or the first week or so that you worked on this, did that earn treats. But now you want them to know it gets harder. You have to do a better job if you want to get a paycheck. So they need to learn to look quickly. Only the fast responses to their name get your yes marker word and a food treat. So really before you can build on duration, which is how long your dog holds eye contact, before you can successfully build on that, I think it's important that dogs understand to look quickly. So with my puppy here, Riggs, I super keen with him as a young pup. Also, I'm super busy, so sometimes I would skip steps, or I always regretted it every single time. I should know better, but I did try to proceed to duration of eye contact before I really made it clear to him that I like it best when he looks quickly. So what I got was a dog that was slow to respond to his name, or when I started doing this impulse control holding food attention, he would be slow to look to me, but then he'd hold eye contact for a few seconds. And I was like, oh, I didn't follow my own advice. I trained the wrong criteria first. I didn't work hard enough on how fast does my dog look at me, so I backed it up. I just immediately aborted the progression of duration in that exercise, and I went right back to following my own advice and training the fast component of the exercise first. And now he's spot on. It didn't take long for him to realize, based on how I interacted and rewarded him, that I liked it best when he looked quickly, and now he's spot on. I call his name, bam, he looks at my eyes. I hold anything out to the side, food, toys, whatever. He's very quick to look back to my eyes. And we've also worked on duration now, so he'll look quickly and hold my gaze for several seconds. So that's the ultimate goal. Don't rush the steps, train fast first, and then work on your duration. Okay, recall. So again, I know I've been promising some better videos, and by the time our class is finished, which is next week, I will have those posted to your group, mostly for walking and recall, where I want just a bit of a larger space, weather and timing, and having someone to help me, because my yard, I just don't have a spot set up in my yard that I could successfully kind of put my tablet and get a good video. So I need someone to sort of follow me around a bit. Anyway, enough about that. You will get your videos, I promise, to give you a better demonstration. But recall. So a few weeks ago, probably one of my first videos or second, I worked on, or I kind of tried to show you with Riggs, a restrained recall. Restrained recall is an excellent recall exercise to have in your puppy toolkit, something that you can use in each new location that you go to. I practice recall and eye contact in each new location I go with, even still with this guy. But each new location becomes an old location really quick when you're doing it all the time. So again, your restrained recall involved having one person hold the puppy, another person approach, tease them, get them excited about treats, and back away and call them. So, and then that person would again hold the puppy, and the person who was originally restraining the puppy becomes the recaller and calls the puppy back to them. So again, that's a great one to keep in your list of exercises that you practice with your puppy. But let's be honest, and I don't know if anyone's like me, I'm often alone with my puppy. I'm not always out there with somebody else to help me with training. So once you get a little bit of that foundation done, maybe with a little help, as you progress with your recall, what I encourage people to do, and what I actually did with this guy pretty much right out of the gate, because it's a little bit more agility geared in its handler body language. That's kind of what I started off with him, is the exercise I'm about to show you. So this involves leaving your dog on a stay, or if they're still not really solid on stay, because that's new as well, try to have someone hold them. Or don't go very far, so don't expect the stay to hold too long. But you're going to walk away this time with your back to your puppy. So one of the more clear indications you can give to your dog that you want them to follow you is to actually have your back to them, is to actually be moving away if my puppy's back here, with your back to them. That's a little bit more indicative that you'd like them to follow, that they should look to catch up. So that's what I encourage you to do now as you progress with your recall. Leave them on a stay, don't leave them very far, call them, take off running, and encourage them to follow and catch up to you. When they catch up to you, do not worry about having them sit. Please, please, please don't even care about it a little bit. Care most about the fact that they get to you. That's the magic moment. That's the golden spot that you want to reward. So when they catch up to you, if you don't get turned around fast enough to catch them and they vroom, like this kid, he's pretty fast, so he's on top of me before I know it. I grab his collar and I have my food reward ready and I bam, collar, reward, yes, good job. Then often what I'll do is I'll sit him here, sit and wait, and then I'll walk away this way and call him back. So you can still do a back and forth recall with one person. You just have to manage it a little bit more. And I like to keep it fast and fluid. So yeah, I don't waste too much time in between. I'll do a quick demo with Riggs. Go, buddy. Riggs, heel. Heel. You can start incorporating your heel position as well if you like. Wait. So don't go too far. I'm not probably 6 or 8 feet away, but this puppy is trained. He already knows how to stay. For your puppies that are brand new, I would probably leave them just 2 or 3 feet, call them, and run off as you call them. Riggs, come. Yes. Good boy. All right, I'll take him back and try again. I won't make you stare at my rear end too much. Sit. Wait. So again, for your puppies, just go 2 or 3 strides. Not more than maybe 4 or 5 feet away. Riggs, come. Yes, good boy. Okay, so good boy. When he catches up to me, I'm immediately ready to grab his collar and get a good hold of him. That's super important that dogs get used to the fact that you're going to reach down and grab them and connect with them each time they come to you. And I offer a food treat with my other hand. To be really honest, with this particular puppy, with all my dogs really, but especially with this guy because he's very toy motivated, I incorporate toys a lot. He gets probably more toy rewards for recall than anything. He does get occasional food rewards. As a baby puppy, he got a bit more, which is kind of where you guys are at. But in all of my dogs, even Josie, who would rather food, I always incorporate some toys into my recall, because when you incorporate toys and tug and like tossing a ball when they get to you, that increases the value in the handler. That increases the fun that is found at the end of the recall. It's not just a cookie that they get for anything going, but this is a game of tug, which I'm going to actually demonstrate to you guys a little at the end of this video. It's a game of fetch. It's interaction with my handler. It's my favorite squeaky toy. You can incorporate toys really well into recall, and I think it's really powerful because, like I said, it increases the value in getting to the handler. There's a game involved, and we are the leaders of all the games. So again, leave them on a sit stay. Now, having said that, if you're leaving them on the stay and they're not super confident in their stay yet because they're just learning it, it's just beginning, don't panic too much. Don't get all hung up on the fact if they move from their stay. Keep in mind what you're training in that moment. You're training recall. I don't ever get too upset about my puppy moving out of a stay if I'm about to practice recall. I work on stay when I'm working stay. I work on recall when I'm working recall. So you can maybe go back once and put your puppy back into the sit, but I wouldn't like drill going back there and making them sit and stay, making them sit and stay, make them feel bad about moving, because then they're going to question following you. They're going to question coming to you in that recall moment. So train stay when you're training stay. Don't worry about it as much early on in the recall. It will all come together. But those are things that you just have to practice a bit separately. So recall and stay are polar opposite exercises. So just keep that in mind. Again, when you walk away from your dog, so again, pretend Riggs is back down at the end of my kitchen. When you walk away from your dog, disconnect. All right? Don't walk away like, stay. Don't creep away from them. They're going to just chase you. They're going to think that's weird. Walk away confidently, just a few strides, call them and run off, catch them, treat them. Handling. So usually there's a play session at some point, puppy class. And I want to talk a little bit about some different types of handling. And I'm going to move this down here. I'm going to bring my dog over here. Usually I use Josie for this exercise, but she's in a crate and sad about it, so I'm going to use Riggs. Hi, he looks giant. Hi, how are you? Yeah. Hi, how are you? Yeah, you're cute. Good boy. All right, hi. Come on over this way. Come here, bud. Don't lie right on top of me. You like that? That's a boy. All right, so we're going to talk about handling other than the be still handling. So that be still handling is a wonderful, wonderful tool to have to encourage your dog to be a bit more calm and thoughtful when they'd rather be silly or reactive to a situation. The other type of handling you need to think about with your puppy is the everyday, like checking for ticks, checking for a sore ear, sore eye, sore paw, nail trimming, brushing, things like that. And none of that is really easy, and it does take time for puppies to get used to that. And there's ebb and flow with it. Sometimes it will go really smoothly. Sometimes they'll give you a little bit more trouble. Sometimes you'll think that they're great at being handled, and then they'll go through a period where they're not. I have to say, of all the dogs that I have had, and trust me, I know he doesn't look like it, but I had a lot of struggles with this little guy early on. Handling was never one of them. Never, never, ever. Of all the dogs I've ever had, this dog, he practically trims his own nails. I've never seen a dog more comfortable being touched every single spot on his body. His tail, sometimes he's a little bit, what you doing back there? But he's never minded anything, and that's not normal. He's not normal in lots of ways, and that's one way he's not normal. So he's actually going to be a terrible dog for this demo. I do usually use Josie, who's a bit more normal when it comes to handling. She's great. I can handle her all over, but she's definitely sensitive about her feet. If I touch her feet like this, she pulls them away. She doesn't want them to be touched necessarily. And feet is a spot where dogs are most often sensitive. Pretty common denominator for most dogs, except this puppy, to not like having their feet handled. Okay, so cut to the chase. Getting them used to that. Pick a time, ideally, not first thing in the morning, not when they've got the zoomies at 8 o'clock at night, like most dogs, except you tonight. Not a high, exciting time for your dog. Maybe in the evening when they're more quiet, maybe after some exercise or some stimulation. Take that opportunity to just practice handling. So again, as you saw me here with Riggs, I'm just kind of touching them all over. I get my puppies used to that very, very young. At just, I'm not going to handle you lightly. You're going to know I'm touching you, okay? I'm going to feel you all over. With most puppies, you may have to offer some food treats. I don't have any right now, but if I was getting this puppy used to handling, I would be feeding him, maybe throwing some kibble on the floor for him to eat while I really get him used to being touched all over his body. As they get better at it, flip their ear up, take a look in there, make sure that they don't care that you're really digging and flipping in their ear. You can just start lifting their lip a little bit just so that they can get used to the fact that you might handle their mouth. Baby puppies are going to bite at you when you do that. Feed them a little bit, try to distract them, but just get them, lift their lip a tiny bit, something like that. So when I demo with Josie, I tend to use feet as the example. If you find an area that they are particularly not fond of being handled, so they might react a little bit, they might try to bite you, they might try to pull away, they might yipe, make some sort of reaction to let you know that they would rather you not do that, they would prefer you stop. So it's kind of a gray zone, it's a slippery slope in how you handle that. And I use feet as an example because majority of dogs don't like to have their feet touched, except this one. The only dog ever that I've ever met in 25 years likes their feet touched. He's totally cool with it. Falling asleep, he doesn't care. But I use that as an example. So if you go to touch your dog's feet and they kind of bite at you, or they yipe, or they do something, do your best not to just let go, because they'll very quickly and easily learn that when they yipe or put up a fuss when you touch their feet, that you're going to stop. So what I do instead is I just try to overhandle through almost like a desensitization thing. So I try to overhandle an area close by. So I might go, come here, bud, you get in a normal position? Good boy, I know. So I might just handle up a little further the leg a little bit and kind of rub that a little bit more. And then whoop, down to the foot, feed, and then I might stop. Okay, so I might again overhandle an area close by, go down to the feet just for a second, feed, which I don't have for him, but I would for a baby puppy, feed, and then stop and release. So, and I use this a ton now that I've really learned to utilize pressure release handling techniques, I guess, in dogs. I use it a lot in clinic as a vet tech, restraining animals for procedures, especially for nail trims, where, again, dogs hate having their feet touched, but I will hold a dog nice and strong, and as long as they're not fighting, I will release my hold enough that they feel that I'm not pushing tight. I won't completely back off, but just enough to let them know I appreciate that they're cooperating. As soon as they start to struggle, they will feel me not hold their foot really tight, but just above it. I will hold their foot firm. I never let go when they fight me. Never. I do not increase my pressure. Don't increase your pressure and fight your puppy, but hold strong, be persistent. So I will just keep my pressure consistent, that they can't get away, but I'm not hurting them and I'm not increasing my pressure. And then when they give up a bit, all right, I'll proceed. Now I'm going to continue to trim your toenails, right? If you fight again, I'm just going to hold. I'm going to stop trimming, but I'm going to continue to hold onto that nail and that foot as you flail about. And as soon as you stop, good job, I'm going to carry on, all right? So that's kind of a good way to, a good way to get your puppy used to handling all over and getting used to minor things like nail trimming and brushing. I will kind of recap and talk a bit more about handling next week as well, and I'll talk about brushing a bit more specifically, and talk about nail trimming a bit more specifically as well. The last thing I want to talk about in regards to handling is about hugging in dogs. So, and again, this guy won't be the best demo because he's the coolest thing I've ever had for handling, but dogs by nature do not like to be hugged, period. Some tolerate it better than others. This guy would be one of them. My Bree dog, Josie's mama, she also would have been one that tolerated quite a bit of hugging. She was a very affectionate dog. Josie and Briar, not so much. Briar, no, he'd probably bite you in the face if you hugged him. Which is gonna, I'm gonna get into that a bit. Josie, she just looks like, nah, I'd rather you didn't. Like, she would never bite you. She's a soft little girl. But when I do this demo, and she's sitting here in a crate looking at me, I might bring her out to do it, but she just looks like, yeah, I don't like this. Like, her ears kind of go back, and her face looks a little bit tight, like she's got some tension there. She certainly doesn't look relaxed and happy. So, so I tell you that because we like to hug, and we like to hug our dogs. So dogs do need to get used to that. They need to learn to tolerate short bits of hugging. But having said that, we as handlers have to understand that they don't really like that. So we have to be respectful about it. Don't hug them so much that it hurts. Don't hug them too long. Hug them just long enough to get your hug done or to hold them for whatever you need to and carry on. So the other reason I mention it is because one of the biggest, and this is really the main reason I mention it, one of the biggest reasons that children are bitten in the face by dogs is from hugging. Dogs don't like it. And kids love it. And kids don't always see that dogs don't like it. And people, adults, don't always see that dogs don't like it. So be mindful. Be respectful of your dog. Teach them. Doesn't mean you shouldn't hug them. It means you need to teach them that it's okay and that it's something that people do. They need to get used to small bits of it. And you need to watch them around kids. And you need to watch your kids, Riggs. Bloopers much. You need to watch I just moved a bone. You need to watch your kids around dogs in regards to hugging. So again, this kid, you won't really see much unhappiness except that I won't let him go get that bone. But when you hug, the other thing about it is, as a vet tech, the amount of times that I do this, see, this guy loves it. The amount of times that I do this to a dog in clinic for restraint, for nails, for an exam, for something, is endless. So dogs that I know will not tolerate any kind of restraint or hug like this, if my vet walks into my treatment room and asks me to restrain a dog that I know is not going to tolerate this well, I will say, no, get me a light muzzle, and I will just hold the dog like so. Because if a dog is not taught to tolerate bits of hugging, you do this, they're going to spaz. They're just going to lose their mind. They're going to fight you, and you're going to lose. So it's good to teach them when they're young to just tolerate short bits. Now with this, I don't necessarily wait for one of those calming relaxation cues, because in all honesty, even this guy who doesn't mind hugging, they're not likely to give you a relaxation cue, because even though they even look like they like it, something in their body tells them they probably shouldn't relax into that. So you're probably not going to get a relaxation cue. And you can even see, again, this guy likes it, but you can see when I let him go, it wasn't quite as pronounced that time, but I could feel him kind of like, oof, thank you, like pull away. They appreciate that release. So when I do this with Josie, she just looks pitiful. He's just sad right now because he wants to go get his bone. Okay, buddy. Oh, now he sees the rain. Okay, you're all done. Okay. He's like, oh, thank goodness. I was thinking about that bone for a while. So that is, that's a little bit of extra advice on your handling for your young puppies and things to get them used to as they grow up. And like I said, sometimes they'll be, as babies, they might be great at it. As they get into being teenagers, they may tolerate certain things a little less than they did before. So just keep that in mind. All right, so sit stay. The exercise I left you with last week, I had you just holding your puppies, staying fairly close and putting a pile of food out in front, delivering one treat at a time. As long as that is going well and you're having success with that, you can upgrade or up your criteria to the exercise I'm about to show you. So this involves actually moving away from your dog a little bit. So there's a couple criteria to think about in regards to stay. There is distance and duration. So don't worry about distance yet. If you come on to Manners online training that follows this, I preach it all the time. Do not worry about distance right away. Worry about your duration, okay? So worry about your dog understanding and your puppy understanding that they just need to hold position for a certain amount of time and not move. And in order to do that, and in order for you to train it well from a handler perspective, you need to stay fairly close. Once you get too far away from your dog, your timing is off if they move. Everything is just a bit of a landslide from there. So stay close until you trust that they know that they should hold position until you say they're finished. So, and I'm still working on that with my puppy. He's not perfect. He's pretty good, but he's certainly not perfect. He's really thinking about this bone an awful lot. I'm going to put it here. You're right. You just have to leave it though. Okay. We're going to do a bit of work. Riggs, come here. Come here, buddy. So, if you're working on your heel position, you can start your stays from your heel position. So you can bring your little treat out. Riggs heel. You can bring them right into heel. So initially when we start this stay, already it's looking different for them because we're standing up. Stay. So I'm just going to pivot in front. I'm not going very far at all. I'm staying very close to my little dog. So that if he is to move, I'm going to be right on top of him. I'm going to put him right back where he's supposed to be. Yes. Stay. So you want to step in to deliver your food treat to the dog, repeat your stay, and then back up to however distance. Don't get too confident. Don't back too far away. Stay close. Yes. Stay. Always repeat your stay after you've given your food reward. Yes. Stay. Yes. Okay, good boy. Good job, buddy. That's a good boy. That's a good puppy. So with Riggs, hey, bud. I know. With Riggs, because he already knows stay, I did it for maybe a little bit longer, a little bit more duration than your puppies will be ready for. For your newer puppies, you're probably giving a food treat maybe every 5 or 6 seconds. Just do that for maybe 3 or 4 treats and then release them. When you release them from the stay, make sure it's because you told them they can move. If they were to move at any time, here, buddy, sit. If they are to move at any time, you want to put your hands right on their collar, not with force, but with a quick persistence, right to their collar, and you put them back. So it will look something like this. Sit. Good. Stay. Do not give a food treat if they've made a mistake. So if they've made a mistake and you've had to capture them and put them back, don't treat that until they've done a bit more than stay. So just as a review, I'm making my puppy move, but if your puppy is to move from the stay position, this is why it's so important to stay close in the beginning. If they move, you grab them by the collar, not roughly, but just firmly back, put them back to their spot. That's the consequence. That's what they should be looking to avoid. You should want to avoid being caught and put back. Instead, you just sit there and the lady feeds you. It's kind of a no-brainer. So if they move, hands to their collar, back. Good boy. You can see how Riggs replaces himself in the very spot where he moved from. Josie will do the same thing, no matter really what the distance. They know how far they've moved ahead. Therefore, they know how far they need to go back to be in the right spot. Stay. And I'd work the stay a bit. Yes. Okay. Good job. Always make sure your dog moves out of the position, out of the stay position. If your puppy is hesitant to move out of the stay position, toss a treat and tell them, okay, and make that gesture, okay, so that they know that they are free. With your heel position this week, keep practicing what you learned last week or what I taught you last week. The little bits that I've seen of your heel positions are great. What you can try to progress to is see if you can fade the luring, which would really just involve, my dog's into his bone now, but it would really just involve, again, doing that same kind of grand gesture to bring them into position, but doing it without food. So even if you maybe need to use food to lure them, try to withhold it until you get maybe a little bit of attention, or they hold position a little longer before they get that treat. But ideally, see if in a quiet environment, fairly free of distractions, you can encourage your puppy to follow your hand and your leg back and come sit at your side, all right? So that's kind of your progression with your heel position to see if you can get away from luring. You can still feed them for getting there, but see if you can get away from having a treat in your hand to get them to do that. Yeah, so what I want to talk about, a couple of things. I'm going to do a really easy kind of exercise called a hand target, just to show you quickly. It's a very simple little exercise. It's helpful and it's fun to have for teaching other things. It's also a very nice, simple behavior that you can just ask your dog to do on the fly. And it looks like, hi, the bone's good, eh? Good boy. Here, Riggs. Here, buddy. Hey, are you ready? I don't think you're ready. Touch. Good. Oh, we added a spin. Touch. Good boy. Touch. Yes. Okay, so it just involves having your dog go and like smuck the palm of your hand with their nose. Touch. Yes. So I have taught Riggs to do his spins and his twist with touch. That's not necessarily what I use it for most. In everyday life, I use it sometimes just to increase my puppy's focus on me, to give them something to kind of come back and pay attention to me for. It's super, super simple to teach. Again, I like to do it with a class dog, but simply present your palm. They'll probably go sniff it and you can reward them. So you mark and treat them for just making contact with the palm of your hand. Yeah, and once they're doing that pretty easily, then I start calling it touch. You call it whatever you like. But yeah, that's where it's really nice to have class dogs to demo, and it's hard for me to do. But yeah, don't say you're verbal right away, but just present your palm and see if they'll go and sniff it. If you've been doing this kind of gesture for stay, they may question it a bit. Then I just use a fist, a bit of a fist for my hand touch. The last thing I'm going to show and do a demo of tonight is how to play tug of war with your dogs. And it's kind of I guess it's a touchy subject maybe between, for pet dog owners. People who are into sports dogs are a little bit more savvy about how to play tug and its usefulness. Let me find a good tug. So this is a good tug toy that I have. It's a milker and a nice little kind of bungee sort of thing. Not bungee, but just a nice fleecy. So tug is a primary reward for agility dogs, fly ball as well, and sometimes for obedience. I love it. I could go on and on about how much I love tug of war. It's great exercise. It teaches dogs good bite inhibition when they're excited and overstimulated. It's great bonding for owners. It's a great reward. Dogs love it. Yeah, it's just great. But it does need to be played with rules. I did give you rules out the very first night we were together for orientation. Rules of tug of war. And the rules are that they can only take the toy when you have given them a verbal command to do so. They need to be able to give and drop that toy when you ask them to. So you need to teach the drop separately. You need to teach the drop before you even start playing tug of war. Teach that by trading your dog a cookie for a toy, and then give them their toy back. Play with the toy, cookie to their nose, trade toy for cookie, and then give the toy back. So practice some exchanges with things. But tug is fun, but it's important that the handler be the leader of the game. Ready, Riggs? Come here, buddy. Are you ready? They can also only take, hey, he's still learning this part. They can only take the tug when they've been asked. I keep saying his words, so that probably doesn't help. That's mine, buddy. Tug it. That's a boy. Good. You tug it. Josie's probably gonna bark. Give. Good boy. Touch. Touch. Buddy. Touch. Tug. touch. Yes, tug. Boy, so I use it as a reward a lot. Border Collies love tug. Again, agility dogs do. Most dogs do. This guy's been taught right from babyhood that it's a really big reward. Give, but I have control over the whole game. Flat, flat. Oh, Riggs, heel. Flat, tug. Yeah. So again, he does it based on me telling him to tug. He's not just random, willy-nilly jumping up at that tug and grabbing it and pulling on it. Mine, good boy. Flat, flat. I have 2 words for my dog. For him to give it up, he'll give it up to the word mine. He'll give it up to the word give. Because I wanted something separate from Josie, so if they were playing tug, I could just command him to give something up. So that's where I came up with mine. Ready? Okay. Uh-oh. I fool down with the okay. He still has to hear his word. Just gotta look that time. Hey, hey, hey. Tug it. Good boy. Good job. So his command is tug or tug it. I don't want to necessarily, and clearly you can see he's still working on that because he's pretty excited for this toy. Yeah, I want to be able to say okay to him, but I don't want him to actually take the toy until I say the word tug. Give. Good boy. Touch. Good. Ouch. Sometimes I'll say ouch, like biting. Okay. Uh-oh. I need to work on that one. I don't think I really have. Tug it. Ah, it's a good boy. There you go. Woo. Yay. And sometimes I just let him have it. All right. So sometimes that's the reward for having played the game with the rules is I'll just let him have a release. I'll just tug, tug, tug and let him go play. But it's something I practice a lot as a baby puppy. Trading toy for treat. Tug, tug, tug. With baby puppies, you don't tug as hard as I was doing with this guy. He's almost 9 months old now. So yeah, just a little bit of light tugging, treat for toy. Tug, 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 treat, toy. Yeah. So yeah, tug's a great one. Again, dogs love it. It's an energy burner. It's great for rainy days. Great reward. Recall. Yeah. I always incorporate tugs into recall. I have dogs that zoom into me, except Josie, who could care less about toys, and she comes at her own pace, and she always has. One of the things I love about her, actually. Yeah, so I am going to talk more about some loose leash walking in the loose leash walking video I'm going to provide, as well as I'll kind of recap that next week too. Next week's graduation. I didn't get to see your puppies grow up. I hope everyone, at least, if you haven't sent me videos, please send me videos. And I will keep this group open for, let's say, about a month after our class finishes, so that if anybody has any, because this wasn't a very traditional kind of class, so if you have any follow-up questions or you're late getting videos up or anything like that, you can still access the group. What else? Yeah, I'll talk a bit more about loose leash walking in next week's video and a separate loose leash walking video. That's it. Send me some videos of your work, guys, your stays, your recall, your walking, all the things. Please send me videos. Please send me questions. I hope everyone's doing well. Yeah, you've had lots of time to spend with your puppies to train, so that's really cool. Yeah, talk to you guys next week. Thanks. Night.